Good evening or hello, good morning, wherever you're joining us today from. This is Suman. Welcome to ReachIvy's webinar series. And today's topic is LinkedIn, or rather, catchier title is 10 tricks for a stellar LinkedIn profile. And the way we're going to do this is I'm going to speak for around 15 to 17 minutes and share um, 10 top tricks according to us that we think everybody should implement in their LinkedIn profile. Just at the beginning, I must say that there are many things that must be done to your LinkedIn profile to make it stellar. And we're just going to share the top 10. In interest of the webinar, I'm not going to look at the chat window or all your questions during the initial 15-20 minutes. So feel free to post the questions as and when it comes to your mind, or hold them till the Q&A section because it might get covered during the webinar. So let's begin. The first trick that I want to share with you is the tagline and summary section. The first thing a reader comes across when they visit your LinkedIn profile is your tagline and summary, and often people don't pay enough attention to it. Now, it is true that it is not the most, let's say, it's not data or it's not information about you. It's more of a marketing sort of section, if I may say so. But remember that is the first thing that people see. So what you put in your tagline and summary is what will make you rememberable. So I wouldn't add too much information or data in this particular section, or I would not make it like more than 2-3 lines long. But it's basically your elevator pitch. It's basically something that you want people to know about you. The first thing they look at your profile, and it must align with what you're seeking to do with your LinkedIn profile. If your LinkedIn profile is right now being viewed by admission officers from universities that you're applying to, then you must showcase your academic skills or your achievements in the field of your interest. If you're applying for a job, for example, then you must kind of customize the tagline and summary to the kind of the role that you're looking for. So just repeating it makes us rememberable through your tagline and summary. Second trick, put a relevant cover photo to visually attract the reader. From my experience, 90% of people don't put a relevant and professional cover photo because a lot of people think it's casual. A lot of people think it's unnecessary. But again, truth being said, that is the part of the first 5 seconds that a person spends on your profile. So the color combination of the cover photo, the material that you're exhibiting is going to be something that attracts the reader. So we often get a question, what kind of photo should we put? And my answer usually is, what would you say is the intersection of your personality or your role and the kind of type of work you're doing? So for example, if you're a designer and you're also as a professional, but you're also a minimalist, you could pick a simple black or a simple one color background with a few lines, for example. If you are an educator or you work in the field of nonprofit, you could put a powerful image of one of your education programs, say, for example, in a classroom. If you're an engineer, if you're like, say, a civil engineer, or if you're a management consultant, you can put an image of, say, a conference that you're attending or something that you want to showcase as the first thing. So again, you need to visually capture your work, but in a professional manner. Trick number 3, use accurate dates everywhere. Now, LinkedIn and a lot of other websites like this are built on the idea of algorithms, which for the people who are not aware of, is basically an automatic way of throwing things to the readers. This means that the date that you attended your university, the day that you started working and left a company, these days are combined by LinkedIn, and it showcases recommendation. It showcases number of years of experience internally in the database. So when people are looking for you, looking for somebody like you, and say for example you've put the accurate date of when you left university, when you left your bachelor's degree university, um, it will be able to put you in that alumni pool. So, say for example, the alumni from your university could look you up, or say somebody who works, say you're looking for a job in XYZ company, and they are looking for prospective people to hire, and they come across, they are looking for people from their own university and went to the university. Having the correct dates will just give them, just give you an edge and make the person interested in. So again, just make sure you use accurate dates everywhere on your LinkedIn profile so the LinkedIn algorithms can do their work. Trick number 4. In work experience, be as specific as you can. Now, this is something that you must be receiving different advice from different people from. But my advice is don't write too much. If you look at your profile, do it after the webinar, but when you look at the profile in the description of, say, in the work experience, you'll see after a particular line, it says see more, which basically means LinkedIn truncates your text after a particular like word limit, and then you'll have to click see more to see more. It's often seen that people don't actually click on see more, so you don't really have that much space to write about what you've done at work. And given the dearth of space, my advice is be very specific. Say, in place of saying that you're responsible for making sure the factory is running well, you need to tell what exactly do you accomplish. Like what kind of is there any efficiency figure that you can give? Is there retention in the employees that year that you are responsible for? What is something that you want people to remember of your work? What achievement do you want people to remember? It's something you need to put here. And it goes without saying, as we say about resumes also, quantify the outcomes as much as possible. You have very little space to make an impression. Trick number 5, put in dynamic content. Again, something that we see that people don't utilize enough of. LinkedIn allows you to put links to videos, presentations, upload them, and put URLs to posts about you or articles on the web. And it allows you to do it inline inside your, say, the job, the work experience that you've written, the education that you've written about, or the summary that you have. So we definitely recommend you putting links or uploading these onto the profile. Having said that, be very mindful of how many you're putting. For example, if you look at the work experience area, if you put 2 of these attachments or links, then it shows side by side. But if you put only 1 or 3, there's this awkward blank space. So you must try to put this links, but be mindful of how many you're putting, so it doesn't destroy the kind of integrity or the way your profile looks. So repeating, please put links and or dynamic content on your LinkedIn profile. Okay. Trick number 6, in education, add details. Now, often we get questions, should we put our GPAs, our test scores, the courses or subjects we've taken? If overall the answer is yes, with an asterisk on it. We have to be smart about what test scores and what GPA is relevant and valuable. For example, if I'm applying for a management consultant role after finishing graduate school, should I be bragging about my 10th standard scores? I'm not very sure. However, if you're applying again for the same role and you have done CA or CFA, and those scores are something that you want to showcase, sure, right? Because it's more relevant and it's more recent. Similarly, the GPA, again, very tricky because every country, not this country, in every country, different universities would use a different kind of quantitative or alphabetical way of indicating your grade. So if your GPA is rather a standard format, like if it's, say, for example, a percentage system, or if it is another four system that's more common, especially with the whether companies or countries are applying to. Please go for it. However, if the score is not very good, I mean, according to you, and it's not something that's adding value to your profile, don't just keep it there just because somebody from ReachIvy said so. Keep it in if it's adding value to your profile. Trick number 6: make your profile context neutral. And I'm gonna let this sink in for 5 seconds. Remember that the context you come from, it could be your education background, it could be the work that you've done, is not necessarily the same context that the reader of your LinkedIn profile is coming from. By that, I mean, if you have made company profits in lakhs, right? And then your readers not necessarily are from India. They could be from abroad, they could be from universities, they could be from employers. They not necessarily would understand lakhs. So you must use a system of like numbers that anybody can from anywhere will understand. Similarly with temperature, similarly with other values or other things that we use in the country. Along with that, it's also career or professions. A lot of times, being regularly surrounded by people from similar professions as we forget that some words and ideas will not be understood by people not from our profession. So a good practice is to just simplify it, make it, remove the jargon, remove the region-specific terms. So your LinkedIn profile becomes more usable and more accessible to people, no matter where they come from. Trick number 8: ask for recommendations and endorsements. Again, mostly we don't see this done in profiles. And the simple reason for why you should do this is human trust factor. You are much more likely to trust somebody if somebody is vouching for that person. Like, think about it. How many times have we hired somebody or recommend a friend for a job and then they've had a positive outcome, or just introducing a friend to another friend? As human beings, no matter which profession we are in, there is some level of subjectivity. There's some level of trust that only a human can bring. So speak to your employers, speak to your previous employers or friends or people who work on projects with, and ask them for recommendations and endorsements. A question that we get is, what if a person has many years of experience and has switched a lot of jobs? How many recommendations and how many endorsements should you have? And what I recommend is try to gather endorsement recommendations from, say, the jobs or experiences you value the most and you sort of want to show off. As a rule of thumb, I recommend you removing recommendations or endorsements which are more than 3 years old, unless they are very, 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 very vital. Over something that I recommend for everybody that works with us is treat your LinkedIn profile or your resume as not not a document of everything that I've ever done, but it's more a curated platform, a curated document. So you want to be careful of what you're putting on the profile. So again, try to get your recommendations and endorsements in, request people for it, because it builds a human trust. Trick number 9: use the project section as a portfolio. Now, we often have job experiences that span multiple years, and a lot of times, if you've not switched jobs too much, or you've not done or your education experience is limited, you might not have a diverse profile to show, and this is where project section comes in. Project section lets you use smaller time frames and more of kind of like more project structure. So what I mean by that is, you will be able to say you work for 2 months with a particular client on seeing a project fruition. You can add that as a project and then select either your work experience or the particular work experience or education experience as kind of something that this project is nested under. So similarly, during education experience, a lot of time when people are in college, they don't end up doing a lot of extracurricular activities or internships. But you do a lot of stuff in the college that you can package as a project. So you can use this section in particular as a portfolio, so to speak, of the different projects. Now, again, we get the question, how many projects should I showcase? And the answer to that is not quantitative, but qualitative. How many projects do you want to showcase? And again, do not showcase everything that you've ever done. Try to showcase things that are more relevant to the jobs that you're applying for or the university courses that you're targeting. So to repeat, use project section as a portfolio almost and show off your projects that make you stand out. Add certification as they show credibility, which is our trick number 10. This is something that we struggle with often because it's hard to argue with people about what certification they value most and they don't. This is probably the section of your LinkedIn profile that your opinion is not that important, as is the brand value or the skills of the organization and institutes that you receive the certifications from. And I say this for a few reasons. One important reason is certifications don't really portray the experience that you've had or what you've learned exactly in the course. By which I mean, you probably, if you've done two certifications, one from a reputed organization and one from not so known organization, but you worked twice as hard and learned twice as hard in the one from the non-reputed organization. The only thing that's going to show on your LinkedIn is the name of the certificate and the institute. So you have to unfortunately put the certification only if it's done from a reputed organization. And as I'm repeating again and again, it has to be relevant and contextual for the job and what you're interested in. For example, if you've done, so you used to be an engineer and you've done a HTML5 certification from Microsoft, but now you're in non-profit sector and you're applying for a job as a project manager in a food security organization. Will they care so much about HTML5? I don't think so. So if I were you, I would not keep it there, and I would try to add a certification that would make my case for the position applying. So basically, these are the 10 tricks that we think that you must implement in your LinkedIn profile. I'm going to do a quick recap before we jump into the Q&A. Number one, fill that tagline and summary and make yourself memorable. Second, put a relevant cover photo visually attract the reader. Third, use accurate dates everywhere so LinkedIn algorithms can do their work. In work experience, be as specific as you can. That means quantify things and write about your accomplishments. Put in dynamic content, right? Videos, presentations, media recognition throughout your profile, but be careful of how many you put. You don't want to overburden the reader. In education, add details. Show off your GPA and test scores as long as you think that they're valuable. Make your profile context neutral, free of jargons and region specific terms. Make sure that the person who's reading your profile can read it no matter which country they're visiting from and which kind of background of education and profession they come from. Ask for recommendations and endorsements from your colleagues, from people you work with briefly, even friends. Use project section as a portfolio. Show off what some of the things that you've done, but be mindful of what you're putting there. You don't want to overburden the reader, but you want to make sure they understand what your strength and what your skills are. Then add certifications as they show credibility, but try to only add them if they are from reputed organizations and institutes. With that, I'm going to take a look at the question answers. If you have not asked your questions yet, please feel free to ask them now. Okay, I'm just going to scroll from the top. Okay, so Akshita asks, does certified courses matter? Yes. by that I mean is a lot of the online, I mean, if you're talking about the online courses, I'm not sure, but the online courses, you can take it in two tracks. You can take it for a certificate or you can take it as an audit course. We only ask you to put certificates that you have done in the certified track, which basically involves some sort of payment. And yeah, that's a better thing to do because that's kind of the institute vouchers for your skills. Okay, I'm going to come to the repetition point in a while. Angelo, is it advisable to add client's name rather than the employer name only? So this, Angelo, is a great question, and I've worked in the corporate sector in an investment bank earlier, and I can tell you this. It depends on the contract between the client and the employer. By that I mean, usually clients would have a non-disclosure agreement with the organization that doesn't allow them to reveal their identity. But a lot of times people find a way around it by referring to the organization without using their names. For example, say top 10 biscuit manufacturing company in India, or like some sort of a way of indicating towards a company that you have that's a client of yours without naming them. There are also relationships between clients and organizations where there is no such deal. Um, I advise people to be safe, not to put in the client's name if you can, unless you know for sure through your company that you are allowed to do so. Because you don't want to find somebody, a reader of your LinkedIn profile who works for that company and who gets angry and you can possibly lose an employment opportunity. So yeah. Okay, I'm going to go up first because I feel like I could repeat the point three, which is specific dates. It just simply means that wherever in the LinkedIn profile where you're putting a work experience or education experience, it asks you for dates. Don't take a guess. Put in actual month and the year that you did those dates. Don't even if it's optional, try to put in those dates wherever they ask you in the LinkedIn profile, basically, so that LinkedIn automatically can put you in particular cohorts of university, or it can put you, it could calculate the years of experience in a particular skill or in a particular organization better. Hope that makes sense. Okay, Vikas asks, any portion where we can add presentations delivered in seminar or professional club? Um, if I were you, I would put this, I would use the updates or the main profile post, almost like the updates post of Facebook, which you get on LinkedIn when you sign in, as that. So wherever I would go and deliver a presentation or attend a seminar and find something interesting, I write something about it and then I can post it directly on the first section, which is the update section. Be careful though, Vikas. I advise people not to post more than, say, I don't know, once a week, or if you want to be, depends on obviously your sector also. Once a week or once in 2 weeks is good if you're creating that content like presentations or blog posts. So yeah, that's where I would share. Divyakti asks if I can re-explain. I can because we still have time to do so. Fill the tagline and summary. And basically, to summarize, the first thing that somebody reads on your profile is the tagline and the summary. So you have to use that opportunity to make yourself memorable. By that I mean, select, just think about yourself, right? Think about your profile, think about what you've done, think about what you want to do, and kind of make a 2 to 3 line summary of that. Say, okay, the usual way I like to look at summary is past, present, future. What have you done in the past? What are you doing right now? What do you wish to be doing in the future? And if you could make a nice package of it in 3 sentences, something that the reader would remember, that's what I advise. And tagline needs to be something literally 4 to 5 words. And that needs to be something that it's almost a way you want people to remember you, like an extension of your name. Okay, like for example, Abhivyakti, the problem solver, or like I don't know, but I'm trying to say that try to put 3 4 words as a tagline that that you would want people to remember you with. So if you're an architect, then you say building sustainable buildings or build sustainable properties or something like that. Hope that makes sense. It's not part of the name. Okay, let me give you an example. McDonald's, I'm loving it, right? It McDonald's is the name of the company, but I'm loving it as a tagline. But almost when you think about McDonald's, you remember McDonald's. I'm loving it. So it's something that you use to sell your profile, or sell your almost you use as a way for people to remember your name. It has to be if I mean let's imagine if you were a product, so to speak, in the sense that an employer is looking to hire as a resource. What is your selling factor, quote unquote? What is that one thing that you should want to be known for? Yeah, but it's not part of the name. It's a separate thing. Okay. Is there any question, anything else that I can answer? We have around 4 minutes. As we wait, I'd like to remind you that ReachIvy has a service where we evaluate your LinkedIn profile and give you feedback, help you set it up if you need that kind of support. To learn more about that, you can write into help@reachivy.com or go to our website and find that section. And I will be assisting with the LinkedIn profile if you're aware of the service. And there are many, many more things that we look at when we do a comprehensive review of your profile. Yes, Abhijit. You can learn more about that on the website, or you could write into help@reachivy.com. While writing, that's a great question, Neha. While writing the professional achievements, um, there is, I would say, be no person or neutral, if that makes sense. For example, avoid the I's or the she's. Just say, for example, if you led a team of 25 people where 10 out of them were senior professionals and they were promoted, you can just say led a team of 25 professionals, right? I wouldn't use I or she. I know a lot of people like to use that. And if you do, then the only thing that you have to be careful of, the entire profile has to be consistent. So if you say she, it should be she everywhere. But as an advice, I would say just use neutral. Just start with the action word and don't use I or she. Yeah, basically the summary which I have spoken about before is just think about a 3 to 4 line summary of who you are. So essentially, I like to think of it as past, present, future. So what have you done in the past? What are you doing right now? What do you want to do in the future? And yeah, make a 3 line summary and put it there. If you want direct direct review and feedback of that, you can write into us so that we can avail our service. You're welcome. Abhivakti, should I, again, I wouldn't use one. So, for example, I wouldn't use a I or she or they. I would just say working in this, working in the consulting space for the last 5 years. Currently leading a team of 10 people. Wish to become a partner in the next 2 years. So, past, present, future. Um, I think it's not important to be grammatically correct on LinkedIn profile, in the sense that you don't have to write complete sentences, as long as you're being consistent and the reader is able to see that you know what you're talking about. Okay, last 1 or 2 minutes for any more questions. Jay, that's a great question. Don't quote me on this, because every university has a different system and a different style. Um, but I'd like to believe that this depends on the university's focus. Now, by that I mean is if they are trying to put together a class which has which is required to have more professional experience and professional skills, like for example, business-oriented school or a school that is putting together an MBA class or university that really wants to make sure that its students are placed in a good in or like get good jobs because that depends on that the funding depends on them, then they definitely would make that part of the initial evaluation, is what I'd like to believe. However, there are universities that focus more on entrepreneurship, focus more on research, focus more on academics, and I don't think they would look at LinkedIn profile directly because they would look at your writing samples, they would look at your research, they would look at your um, other things that you've submitted. And the only way you can think of this is if I were you, I would just make sure my LinkedIn is doing well in at all stages. But yeah, and if you're applying to a business oriented course, I would make sure that it's the profile is great even before you apply, because I think they would look at it primarily. Whereas if you're applying to a research oriented course, then I wouldn't stress about it too much. But that doesn't mean I will have not up to date information on the profile. Hope that makes sense. You're welcome. Okay. I think it's time for us to close. Thank you so much for your questions. Thank you for attending the webinar. If you would like to avail of our service or have any questions that you need answering, please reach out on help@reachivy.com or visit our website reachivy.com and learn more about our services. Thank you so much.